I'm Sudeepthi Dondapati. I'm here today with you to share my opinions or views or reflections or could be any thoughts about a very important and a very significant concept in the English language. So, all we have seen till now or about the concepts, right? Concepts and very important concepts, significant concepts. We've seen some concepts or topics in grammar. We've seen some topics in terms of like idiomatic expression and in like in all figurative sense, right? So now I have come up here to present my concept on just a minute. So just a minute. So what is that? So it's all about JAM. So JAM. The abbreviated form of JAM is abbreviated form of just a minute is JAM, and short form of JAM is like if you expand just a minute. It's not about any other jamuns, but it's all about JAM. That is just a minute presentation or just a minute talk or just a minute speech. So whatever you call it, could be a speech or could be a presentation or could be anything of that matter for that sense. So you can present only for a minute. So you must be wondering, you ma'am, or you can say that like we've listened to more than like listen to speeches or lectures or guest lectures or whatever kind of oratory whatever like form you bring in, like oratory form, could be a lecture or could be a kind of speech, but they end up in 50 minutes at least or 1 hour at least or more than an hour, right? So but for JAM here a minute is given to you. So and how much can you say in abbreviation in this JAM session? So now I'm here to help you with this presentation. So I'll be sharing some strategies you can really follow for enhancing your JAM session or JAM presentation. Right. As you know, it's just one of the key rounds in interviews. So what kind of interviews? And actually, who are the target participants? If somebody else is doing this JAM, you must be wondering why are they over the platform in that given time. So they are there to present their concept or topic, whatever that is given to them, for a minute, for a period of less than 2 minutes, that is around 1 minute. And you go to any campus placement, or you go to any board where they'll ask you this JAM. And of course, some companies, they may not ask this kind of presentation, but some other companies, or at least a few companies, will make sure either they'll have this or any kind of group discussion, JAM, and any kind of oral form are part of oral presentation. So in that case, you can really trust me if I say that this will really add it to your kind of like, this will really add it to your presentation or your personality. Right. The JAM session is designed. Right. What is this JAM session? It's designed and organized by the company recruitment board for the candidates who attend for the job interview. The JAM session is designed and organized by the company recruitment board for the candidates who attend for the interview. So they will have a big panel, or like when they conduct these group discussions, they will eventually evaluate your performance. Right. So nowadays, in this competitive world, there are a huge number of rounds to recruit candidates. So in this competitive world, so before you can really trust them with your performance, like if you are really going to make an impression before them that you're going to do an excellent job in their company in case if you are selected. So in that case, they will analyze based on your performance, either in group discussion or in jam. So one written test will be there and one final interview in case, like for example, like earlier they used to do that. For example, one written test and one interview kind of it. It used to be the pattern or regular pattern of their their activities, especially when they are conducting campus recruitment. But now it's not so easy to crack the interview because you need to be you need to be excellent. You need to be excellent in your performance these days, right? So candidates who have to face this written exam, group discussion, they will also have to go through this just a minute session. In case like if they're not at all like in some companies they don't ask for this just a minute, so at least some companies will make sure they have this round as one of the important top prioritized rounds for this placement recruitment, right? So just a minute is nothing but a candidate's wit test. Just a minute session is nothing but a candidate's wit test. So what do I mean by that, my dear students? So what do I mean by that? So it's like your wit is is tested. Your wit is evaluated. So your sense of kind of like intelligence and how you're going to perform, how you're going to do in terms of responding to other queries. So definitely you will have to be, you will have to go through this kind of interview test. So that is very important. So kind of mock test, and you won't be informed in any given time. So you won't be informed in any given time, but definitely you'll be given a chance, right? Next, so you can perform, you can prove your performance, right? So some common topics for just a minute will make the jam just a session board. For example, for you give a monotonous kind of speech and where the audience or the listeners who are listening to you are least interested in what you say, then that means you're not very successful in your performance. So that is why you have to choose the current topics which are very interesting and speak it for a minute. And my dear listeners, the very interesting aspect about this is to save your time. So whereas other lectures you have to stand there and you have to speak for so long, but here you don't have to stand there and speak for so long, right? So and just in a minute you can finish off your session, so that the listeners who are listening to you won't get bored, and the listeners who are not listening to you, or in case they peep through somebody's window, or somebody who are the direct listeners to your performance or your speech, won't be disinterested or won't be bored when you are speaking it. So that is very important, right? Nowadays most of the companies are conducting these jam sessions. So for that, the key is you have to pick and choose very important topics. And what are those topics? You have to pick and choose this current, ongoing, and updated, informative, useful topics for jam presentation. And some companies will give you an opportunity to pick and choose your topic. But some other companies, they will choose for you. So you don't have to sit there. You don't have to select for yourselves. But then, as a tip, or as a strategy, what I would say to you is be ready with the topics. So do not worry whether they will ask you or you will have to pick and choose. So you keep your topics ready. At least top three topics you find it very interesting, and then so you keep it ready, and then finally go, and in case they are not giving you an opportunity, definitely you can perform, right? Next. Nowadays, most of the companies are conducting jam sessions and to hire candidates because If the candidates are able to perform spontaneously on a topic at the time, short, he will be shortlisted for the final round. So they think that if the candidate is selected for the company, right? So you have to get it, just get selected at a moment, at a time. So for that, they're looking for the potential candidates who can really perform well in their presentations, right? Next, the jam topics will importantly on government issues. For example, in case if they're going to choose for you, so they will be, it's like a sort of clue that I'm trying to help with. Like they'll be importantly on government related issues, right? So it's better to have knowledge in current affairs also. So from your side, you have to make sure that you're updated with this current general knowledge topics. For example, like you can talk about the governance that's going in the present generation, okay, in your particular state or in your particular country, and in other places. You have to see that at least like the ongoing political current events, or it's something related to social cause, or it's something related to pandemic, and which is very important and which is very ongoing current situation in the present society. So better be equipped yourselves with ample information so that definitely you can hit success. Right. So just a minute, ESL activity, speaking activities. So for example, you might have gone through this series of activities. So you can choose for your practice, you can choose any number of activities, right? So part of that activities, you will be given many topics, and thereby you can talk and you can check, you can practice very effectively, right? So now, interviews will have the chance to check the talent and some of the skills of the candidates by arranging the jam sessions. So these interviewers will have the chance to check your talent and some skills that you're already equipped with, whether you are equipped with good communication skills, or whether you are equipped with good information, or whether you are equipped with managerial skills. Also, everything can be understood when you are performing in your jam session. So your thoughts, your decisions, your mindset can be quickly evaluated in just a minute or just a moment. So you have to grab this opportunity to prove yourselves as best effective speakers as well as personalities. Like some very great persons where you can be able to manage all sort of work. Next, the main aspect is arranging in jammers. Like for example, like the main aspect is something like to test all the skills of the candidate. So this is what these companies look for. So they look for so they look for this kind of aspect. Then the interviewer can check the applicant's skills. So what do they do? So they test your skills in your jam performance, and then they will check your resume also and your curriculum vitae also, and further other things that proceedings, whatever are part of that procedure, right? So sometimes what the interviewer does is like they will give you a chance to give you your own jam topics, but they will have different criteria. You have to note that they will give you a chance, but they make sure that on these levels or on these lines, you will have to check and participate or perform on the topic, right? So that will be like extreme preparedness speaking and careful listening to emphasize good speaking, right, and diction. So you have to extemporaneous speech. You need to have this extemporaneous speech. For example, like when you speak in a minute, they will see whether you are very articulated, or whether you are very attentive, or whether you have good presence of mind in your presentation. So careful listening also to emphasize good speaking. Like for example, whether you have when they give you the topic, right? How much you're able to comprehend the topic. So that is also going to be tested. And secondly, they will try to see your diction, the appropriateness of words, the appropriateness of kind of like vocabulary. Like that's what I mean by diction. So pick and choose of your words, how carefully you are going to implement, how carefully you are going to project them. So that is all is going to be part of this 1 minute jam session. So my dear listeners, so when you go before it, make sure that you have very good vocabulary in your hands, and make sure you have good grammar. So you need to have, or you need to possess, good knowledge in grammar. Only then you will be able to perform that. Only then you will be able to understand very effectively. So that is the point I'm trying to say. Next, jam. It is held in a challenging environment where the listeners attempt to identify a number of errors. It is held in a challenging environment where the listeners attempt to identify a number of errors. Now, my dear listeners, in these challenging times, because like everybody can speak something, right? And how many of them are able to speak accurately and appropriately? So that is very important. And how many of them are not able to speak properly, very nicely? Okay, not only in terms of points, but in terms of language also. So you need to have good language skills when you are trying to perform, right? So it's not enough. So let me make sure that it's not at all enough if you speak about points, right? So let me give you an example so that you will understand very nicely, right? If I am asked to speak on this pandemic challenges, right? So I'm here to say, and then I take up this kind of presentation, and then I'll go before the camera, or I'll go before them, and then I'll say, okay, let me talk about some pandemic challenges that I have encountered in my personal life. At the same time, I've seen or I've witnessed in society. So if that is the case, then what is that I need to have? So what I need to do is I need to have good language also alongside very good points. It's not okay if I speak points alone, but I need to have good language. So if I make any number of mistakes in grammar, if I make many mistakes in my vocabulary, if I make many mistakes in my sentences, then what will happen? Eventually, I'll get a very bad name. So, and that's all, it all gets ruined, my dear students. So, have to have both good amount of language or good language skills at the same time. Very important points. On the other side, I want to caution you saying that if I have very good language and I don't have any good information, or if I don't have any good points, then what is the state? Then what is the situation? You will run short of it. You will run short of marks, or you will run short of everything. So it's not okay to have good language but not good points or good content. That is a point that I'm trying to emphasize. If I don't have content but only have points to speak, or if I have only language but no content, but I have content but no language, both are going to result in a very negative manner. So for you, it will be a very difficult problem. So, right. So the main emphasis here in JAM should be that it should have a proper, straightforward approach. So each participant speaks on a topic for a full minute without repetition, hesitation, and deviation. My dear students, I have 3 tips for you here. You should not have RHD. That means repetition, hesitation, deviation. So repetition, right? Always repetitively saying again and again, emphasizing, reiterating. So this kind of redundancy should be avoid it. So what you need to have? Speak once, right? Convey your points very effectively in just one single straight manner. And then hesitation shouldn't be there. So whatever you say, you should not hesitate. You have to look confident. So looking confidence in the sense like it will come only when you have good command over language and content. So if you have good content, you can definitely have this kind of fearless and presentation which you don't have any hesitation. So it's like, whether to say that or not, whether to do it or not, whether to whether to say this one or not, like some kind of confusion and some kind of hesitation will always be there in the candidates, or for the candidates who are not very sure of the information. So always be have a presentation without hesitation. And also deviation. This is another drawback. Deviation is something that is very much prevalent in many speakers. They'll start with A and they will end in Z. They start with A, but they don't end, or they don't complete with, they don't know no more. They'll be talking about this A only. They'll be talking about B. That means like you talk about orange. You start with an orange and finally you end up in giving the negative, or in giving, it's like, very negative good benefits of a mango. So you start with an apple and then you end up in grapes, talking about grapes. So there is no correlation. There's no connection. So definitely you will have to have this kind of a bridge between, or a connection between, both what you have started and what you're saying. So for example, if I'm talking about the government of Andhra Pradesh, or the government of Telangana, or the government of Madhya Pradesh, or the government of Uttar Pradesh, or like the government of like any sort of Kerala. Like when I say that, and then if I talk about the problems in other states, I talk about Kerala. I started with talking about the government of Kerala, and then I'll end up in talking about the government and rule and administration of Andhra Pradesh. Then there is definitely no correlation. So it will eventually mislead the listeners or the audience. So deviation at any cost should be avoided. Stick to the topic. Stick to the topic without getting deviated. That's the point I'm trying to say. Now, the candidate aim should be to develop quick thinking. The candidate's aim should be to develop quick thinking together with speaking skills, good grammar, appropriate use of words, and using the right words. So, quick thinking in a minute. Sometimes you are not prepared. You are prepared with only a few topics, and there when you go to the stage or on platform, like you are not given the topic that you are given the topic that you haven't prepared for. So what will you do? So what you do, like you will have to think immediately. The process will continue. So that presence of mind, the point should come to your senses. So all will end up in a kind of chaotic confusion in case if you're not aware of this kind. So what you have to do is like quick thinking should be practiced. So it's like make sure that you practice enough. Make sure that you do it quickly when you are practicing this jam presentations before you go onto the stage. So off stage, keep practicing, practicing quick thinking also, along with improving your knowledge, language skills, along with improving your content. So this is something very important that I want to say. And then make sure you have good grammar, which I've already discussed in the previous slide. And then appropriate use of words, using the right words. Next, another point I have for you here is it helps in providing a fun environment, right? It helps you in providing a fun environment to improve listening, thinking, and speaking skills. It helps in providing a fun environment to improve listening, thinking, and speaking skills. So, it not only makes you like a better person in terms of giving speeches, but also it will help you enjoy the time that you are speaking. It's like, it will be like a rapid fire round, like you talk about many things just in a second. So you might be wondering, madam, you're saying so much, but in just a minute session, there's only 1 minute, and how we need to follow all this? Yes, even for just a minute, you can follow all this for your effective presentation. Next, just a minute session is useful to raise or check spontaneity, your creativity, and your presence of mind. So, what else will this jam just a minute session evaluate? So, it will also evaluate your spontaneity. Like we mentioned, it evaluates your diction, right? It evaluates your content, it evaluates your language skills, but also it evaluates your fluency, spontaneity in terms of your speech, at the same time in terms of your thoughts. So not only that, you will speak just in a second, but also like you will also talk about different topics, right? Like, so your spontaneity in conveying your thoughts is very important. And also it not only checks all that, but also your creativity. Do you know that you can show your creativity when you're presenting? So how in terms of bringing out, and in terms of presenting your points, and how creative you are. For example, if they offer you a problem solving situational topic where you will have to do that, right? So when you do that, definitely you can sit and finish it. You can sit and finish it so well, in case if you come up with creative ideas, if you come up with creative thoughts, right? So how well you are presenting your information, how creatively you are designing that. So that is all given for you. That is all understood in your presentation. So that is very important. And then your presence of mind that we've already discussed is also checked, is also evaluated. So spontaneity, creativity, and presence of mind are all very important in your jam. So now don't bring up all monotonous single same sentences in your presentation. So what you do is, sometimes you will have to cook, or it's like not fabricate a story, but in times of imagination. Like they will give you an imaginary situation where you will have to come up with imaginative ideas and solutions, right? So you can really come up with all these things, and you can really add on, you can really show all these things in terms of your presentation, or in terms of your jam presentation. Next, now what else can you do? You recollect your thoughts on the topic, and then this is a strategy, my dear listeners. So many students are asking me, madam, how can really this jam be performed effectively? So I say that you need to practice. These three words are the same. Practice. The best thing for you to do an excellent jam presentation is to practice only, right? So for when you are doing that, you need to recollect your thoughts on the topics quickly, just in a moment of second, less than 50 seconds or 40 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. So less than the given number of seconds. So at the most, you have how many seconds? 60 seconds. So in 60 seconds, how much will you be able to tell is your challenge. So they can understand. So the top priority is like how well you manage your information. So how well you manage your, organize your content. How well you present your data or topic or matter or information, right? That is important. And then pay attention to pronunciation and correct yourself. This is very important, my dear students. Okay, now your language is excellent, your content is excellent, but your pronunciation is very bad. So how are you going to manage that? So if your presentation is going to be very poor, sorry, I cannot, or like they say, I cannot help you in any way. That's what the HR or the boss, whoever, is going to say that. So because that will mislead them. You mispronounce words and they cannot understand it. And sometimes these people who are on board will be foreign nationals or like foreigners who cannot comprehend what you are pronouncing. So this kind of mispronunciation will mislead them. That is the reason when you master your LSRW, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills, make sure you will also master, have good command over pronunciation. Good command over your pronunciation. So that is very important. And next, put what you have to say in a logical sequence. So put what you have to say in alert. So quickly arrange it. So what comes first? What comes next? What comes later? So I have to do that logical arrangement in just seconds, in a few seconds. So yes, it is challenging, but it is not impossible. If you practice, definitely that is possible for you. Next, one more important thing is speak slowly, in the sense not dragging words like hello, how are you, I am good. Like you don't have to drag your speech. Like you can say hello, I'm so and so, I'm here to speak about, or I'm here to discuss the topic given here. So so you can go in a moderate space. You don't have to go too speed or too fast, and you don't have to be behind. It's like you don't have to do that, right? So, like in any ways, you can really improve. So balance should be there. So equilibrium, like that kind of equal balance will help you make the listeners, what are your target listeners, very nicely. So they'll be able to comprehend the matter given. Right. Next, so speak slowly, not too fast, clearly. This is very important. This clarity should be there in your speech. This clarity should be there in your speech. So when you are speaking or when you are doing it, you don't have to show that you are not, you're kind of like hazy kind of look, like impression some speakers give. Like that means they're not very clear, they're not very happy, they are not very convinced. So what do they do? So they give a kind of like a kind of like hazy picture. So that will also mislead the listeners or the target like audience, whoever it is. So definitely you don't have to give that kind of picture, blurred picture. So that kind of something, like something is understood and something is not understood. That shouldn't be your cup of tea. That shouldn't be your what is like role in your presentation. So make sure you have appropriate emotion. Make sure you are feeling related to the topic. So something feeling related to your topic. Please don't go off topic. Right. Next, speak loudly and clearly. Speak loudly and clearly. So make sure your voice is very clean and very loud enough, very audible enough for the listeners to hear and listen. Right? So sound confidently. That means you should, you should look very confident enough. That means like in your voice also, in your speech also, make sure you sound very confident. Next, do not mumble. So do not say like, not like a kind of whispering or kind of grumbling. So that shouldn't be there. Open your mouth and speak well. Like some students or some participants, like they speak with closed lips. Like say, I'm here to do whatever it is given. So this is very important. See, my lips are not parted. Right? You have to open your mouth and keep the directions and the appropriate body language, facial gestures, facial expressions are also very important, my dear listeners. So make sure you have all this, and then Don't bore your audience with repetition and unnecessary words. So that's what we've discussed. Please don't bore it. They are bored when you are speaking unnecessary points. That is also there. The most important point is practice. That is what we've been telling students again and again. So many times students came to me and they said, ma'am, we have lot of information. And then when we conduct group discussions or when we conduct these jam sessions, I always ask them to perform. And when they say they lack practice, they don't open their, so this kind of inhibition will not give them enough exposure to practicing jam sessions. So what they need to do is, like, they need to practice very effectively. And then no one learns to speak well in a day. Not in a single day you'll be able to practice, but it requires persistent practice to speak on a topic in jam. Yes, it is bit challenging, but not so difficult to crack. Definitely you can crack with good amount of practice. Next, these can be used as jam sessions, can be used as sometimes like game or a selection tool during the job interviews. So yes, so kind of like criteria for them to select you on this basis. Next, it helps predict a person's attitude and approach towards things or concepts. So definitely they will be able to predict about you. They'll be able to predict your knowledge. They'll be able to predict your presence of mind. They'll be able to predict your like how well you are at that particular thing. So definitely you'll be mastering that concept in case you have good exposure and practice. So when this is becoming a tool for them to select you, then why don't you take seriously practicing jam? Do not undermine, do not look down, do not oversee. So that is very important. You don't have to be careless for just a minute, so you don't have to worry about. So this is the general sense. So you don't have to worry about because this is general sense. No, my dear listeners, take it seriously and try to practice. Next, errors to avoid in jam. So what are the errors? Start with the practice, right? Start with the practice. Demonstration. So how you can really do it, how you can really avoid errors. Like, start with the practice and then try to start each round with someone who has not participated. So each round with someone who has not participated, so that person, so like try to start each round with someone who has not, so that will make them make more get used to it. So that's when, like, they will understand, so they will get enough exposure to, right? So use only single word topics in the beginning, and then later on you can practice it with more difficult, or practice on speaking difficult topics. So start with very simple topics. You can talk about, like, sometimes, like, your favorite fruit. You can take a simple topic where you are very much confident about the information that you are going to speak. Right? Talk about the topic, and then slowly, gradually change the level of the topic. Right? Next, mispronounce. The speaker should not make any grammatical mistakes. So when you are practicing, make sure you speak English, or you speak your language without making any grammatical errors. Right? That is one important. Next, mispronunciations are also counted as errors. So definitely don't think that always posh English will not give you anything. It's not about posh English, or it's not about sophisticated language, but it is all about the proper pronunciation, proper words. So make sure you avoid all these errors, mispronunciation. Next, the incorrect use of a word is not allowed. So incorrect use of word should be avoided. So not appropriate, something which is not appropriate. Next, don't repeat the words. So all these errors should be avoided. And no junk words such as so these are some kind of fillers which you will create an impression saying, thinking that we've definitely, like, you are trying to tell them, right? You're trying to tell them that you run short of your points or words. So in that is the reason you have to avoid all these junk words or fillers, empty fillers. Replace them with appropriate words. Next, hesitation. For example, a pause of more than 2 seconds. So avoid this. Don't pause for more than 2 seconds. Quickly come back to the point. Avoid this. So now, strategy for handling jam session. So some strategies or strategy for handling jam session. Recollect your thoughts on the topic and then speak, because once you start, you can only pause for effect. So recollect at once just before you start your jam, and then try to, and then at once it will happen. So you will not get enough time to think and go back to the points that you want to say. So before that, before you start your presentation, think and prepare well, and then start. Next, pay attention to pronunciation and correct yourself before, and then put what you have to say in a logical sequence before you start your presentation. So speak slowly but clearly with right appropriate emotion and feeling related to your topic. That is very important. Again and again I'm saying appropriate emotion is very important, and speaking very clearly is also very important. And then in the case of, right, so in the case of jam sessions, you have to have some do's and don'ts. So now, what are some do's you have to do? The things which you should do. Avoid nervousness. Please avoid nervousness. So if you're nervous, you won't be able to talk. If you're nervous, you won't be able to prolong or continue. So that's one thing that you need to avoid. And second thing is, like, wear a smile on your face. So always have a good smile, beautiful smile on your lips. And then that will add, you have to do that. And then third, present the topics with brief details. Do not give over details or too much in-depth detail again and again. You don't continue with the same old point, and do not give an elaborate description. So always have to monitor your presentation so that it will happen only a minute, but not more than a minute. And then present it in simple and clear language. So grammatical accuracy should be there. So present it in a very simple manner and clear language. If you are not aware of using very complicated or very, if you are not sure of, using all the jargons and all, you don't have to worry about it. If you could do it, that's fine. But if you are not sure, then please avoid it. Use simple and clear language and make sure you have grammatical accuracy. Next, appropriate use of vocabulary is very important. Convey clear and audible voice. And then finally, and with a greeting, say thank you, applaud them. Okay, say appreciate them for giving the chance and thank them, or like acknowledge their with gratitude, acknowledge that they have given you a chance to prove yourself. So acknowledge that and accept the opportunity and thank them, and with the greeting. And next, don'ts to remember. So some don'ts you should something which you should avoid: grammatical inaccuracy, don't beat around the bush, and don't give long pauses. So these are very important. Next, some common topics that you can understand is like health is wealth, right? You can prepare well on these topics. A few topics that I've put up on the screen. Health is wealth. Exams should be banned. Exams should be banned. So, like a statement, right? So what is your stance? Are social networking sites useful? So you have to give your impression. My favorite four. It's very simple and it's very important. And then my favorite place. And then, does age really matter in marriage? So it is a very controversial subject. So you will have to think about it, right? And then, what do you think about life? This is general social aspect. Next, what are the qualities of a successful person? So what are the qualities of a successful person? That is very important. So you can be well prepared with all the topics. Then how do you define failure? So you can prepare on this topic. Do you prefer smart work or hard work? This is very interesting topic where engineering students can be asked, which is very relevant to your lifestyle. Next, some more topics for jam. Global warming, favorite color, favorite movie, impact of social networking sites, teamwork, corruption in India, customer service, your college days. All these can be your topics. Superior customer service, confidence, education system in India, traffic, child labor, my role model, women empowerment. These are all a few important topics. So some specific jam topics for BTech engineering students. What engineers aim for after BTech? Okay, what are they planning to aim for? So could be like just a minute jam session topic. Then engineers are standing out in other professions. Engineers are standing out in other professions. What are your views? So your impressions, your thoughts on that. Next, does debate in engineering college campus help or not? So this is also very important topic. You can really think about it. Engineering or medical, which one is better? Very important topic, significant topic. Your goals, expectations, ideas, etc. Your goals, expectations, your ideas, etc. All these are topics. The one change you want to bring to Indian educational system. This is another important concept. Your opinion on current affairs, social media sites and its impact on students. Next, impact of startup. See, all these are education stress on engineering students, government job versus private job. So these are very important. So you need to have general knowledge, self-confidence, communication skills, spoken English and fluency, spontaneity, flow of thoughts and also speech, time management, spontaneity and sense of humor should be part of your presentation. So with all these things, I want you to prepare well and stand in a race and make sure you hit your target success by presenting excellent jam session. Just a minute. Please wait and think and finish in just a minute. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.